Spartacus, the slave who defied an empire. The roar of the arena echoed through the city of Rome. The sun burned down on the sand, now stained with the blood of fallen warriors. Thousands of spectators cheered wildly, their voices rising in excitement as the gladiators fought for their lives. In the heart of the chaos, a single man stood tall, his eyes filled with fire and defiance. He was not just a gladiator. He was a leader, a warrior, a symbol of freedom. His name was Spartacus, and he would shake the Roman Empire to its core. Born in Thrace, a land of fierce warriors, Spartacus was once a free man, a soldier who fought for his people. But fate had other plans. Captured by the Roman army, he was enslaved, beaten, and sold to the brutal gladiator school of Lentulus Batiatus. There, in the shadow of the Colosseum, men were trained like animals, their only purpose, to fight, to kill, to entertain. But Spartacus was not like the others. He refused to break, refused to become a Roman spectacle. He trained harder, fought stronger, and waited for the right moment. One night, under the cover of darkness, Spartacus and 70 gladiators made their move. Armed with stolen kitchen knives and training weapons, they overpowered the guards, cutting through them like a storm. The rebellion had begun. Fleeing into the countryside, Spartacus and his men took refuge in the hills of Mount Vesuvius. Rome laughed at them. They were just runaway slaves, doomed to be crushed by the legions. But Rome had underestimated them. Spartacus was not just a warrior. He was a tactician. Using guerrilla warfare, he led lightning-fast attacks, ambushing Roman soldiers in the forests, stealing their weapons, and growing his army. Word spread like wildfire. A slave had defied Rome. Thousands of slaves, farmers, and even some Roman citizens flocked to his banner. His army swelled to over 70,000 fighters, a force Rome could no longer ignore. The Senate sent legion after legion to crush him. Spartacus defeated them all. He outmaneuvered them, struck from the shadows, and turned defeated slaves into warriors. But Spartacus was not fighting just to survive. He had one goal: freedom. He planned to lead his people out of Italy, across the Alps, and away from Roman rule. The mountains were within reach, but his army, hungry for vengeance, wanted more. They did not want to flee. They wanted Rome itself. Spartacus could have escaped, but instead he turned his army south, towards the heart of the empire. His forces marched toward Rome, burning cities, toppling Roman outposts, and shaking the very foundations of power. The Senate was in panic. In desperation, they called upon Marcus Licinius Crassus, the richest man in Rome and a ruthless general. Crassus assembled 8 legions, over 50,000 elite Roman soldiers, to stop Spartacus once and for all. The final battle came near the river Salaris. Spartacus and his army were outnumbered, surrounded, and trapped. There would be no escape. But Spartacus did not run. He drew his sword, mounted his horse, and led the charge. He cut down Roman soldiers with the fury of a man with nothing to lose, his blade flashing, his voice roaring over the battlefield. But even a legend cannot fight an empire alone. The battle was a massacre. Thousands of slaves fought to the death, but the Roman legions were too many. Spartacus himself was wounded, his horse killed beneath him. He refused to retreat, fighting on foot until he was overwhelmed. When the dust settled, Spartacus was gone. His body was never found, but Rome claimed he had fallen in battle. Crassus took no chances. He crucified 6,000 captured slaves along the Appian Way, lining the roads with bodies as a warning to all who dared to rise against Rome. But Spartacus was more than a man. He was a symbol. A symbol that even the mighty Rome was not invincible, that freedom is worth fighting for. His name was whispered in secret for centuries, inspiring rebels, warriors, and revolutionaries long after Rome itself had fallen. He was a gladiator, a general, a legend. His fight did not die with him,